The American actor, our founder, Sam Wanamaker, came over to England, and I think he sort of expected to find a globe in London, but there was no globe, and all he found was a plaque on the wall of a beer bottling plant, and he decided that he should rebuild the globe. And so he established a charitable trust in 1970 to do that very thing.
The recreation of the Globe Theatre was hugely important because the Globe Theatre is probably the most important theatre in English history. It was one of the first purpose-built theatres in London. Prior to that, there were no theatres at all. The Globe is a very unique space because when you walk up to it, you see this thatch and you see timber and you see plaster. And a lot of my students who have come to the Globe before they've gone in have asked, is it going to look like a barn inside? When actually you walk in and it's this majestic, painted, gorgeous building.
Here we are at the Globe, a magnificent recreation of a very late 16th century building, which looks like you're travelling in time when you're here, but you are smack bang in the middle of central London. Made completely according to 16th century practices, from nothing but oak and plaster.
Sam was really interested in exploring how the original architecture of the Globe brought actors and audience together in a very exciting, dynamic way.
The best wishes that can be forged in your thoughts be servant to you.
Beside me here is the yard, where 600 people stand at every performance. They stand for 3 hours, they stand in the rain, and they stand with incredible excitement and good cheer. And then there are 3 tiers, lower gallery, middle gallery, upper gallery, in each of which about 300 people sit and pigeons fly around just to keep us company. And a thatched roof. The only thatched roof in London. Thatched roofs, understandably, were outlawed in London after the Great Fire.
I think what really excited Sam about the Globe is that in Shakespeare's time, theatre was popular. It was for everybody. And I think he felt that theatre had become rather elitist, and especially Shakespeare. And he was excited by exploring how the architecture of the Globe, this wooden O, would bring actors and audiences together in a crowd-like, exciting way that wasn't happening in theatre at that time.
Performers stand on this stage and they say it's like being at a rock concert.
I am not yet of Percy's mind.
You've got 600 people standing there. You've got 900 people sitting very alert on the benches. The degree of excitement and attention and energy that you get from out there is phenomenal.
I think that connection, almost physical and tangible, is what makes the performances crackle.
You require extraordinary confidence and self-belief to play on here because you can see everyone.
No! Sam! Look down into the pomegranate, Ralph! Come hither, Francis, we!
When I first stepped out onto the stage with a full house, and I mean a full rank of audiences in all the boxes and the groundlings around my feet, and I stepped out, and there they were. My Lord, you had to be prepared. You really had to be on message and on it. Exhilarating, absolutely exhilarating.
The stage itself has a feeling about it. Somehow you feel part of the earth, part of the Thames, part of the area you're in. There's so much history in the building, even though it's 10, 11, 12 years old. It's a magical, unique place to work.
You definitely get a real sense of why these plays were written specifically for this space. There's an amazing parallel that you have to sort of drive as an actor, being aware of what the audience is saying, thinking, doing, and what you as the character is saying and doing. And at the Globe, it makes sense. You don't get that sort of feeling that on one hand there's the actor and the other hand there's the character. And there's a sort of a problem. It makes sense. Shakespeare makes sense at the Globe.
The audience is perhaps the most unique feature of performance at the Globe. It is the most dynamic, lively audience you can possibly imagine. Audience are invited to just be themselves.
Because if you like, the Globe was Shakespeare's original instrument, and he wrote with this particular architecture in mind. He wrote for a theatre in which actors could see the audience. In most indoor theatres with lights, actors can't see the audience. It's very difficult to communicate with them. But it's also a theatre where the audience is very much aware of being in an audience. It's very much aware of being in a crowd.
For the audience, it's just electrifying. They say it's like being at a festival or a carnival of some sort. From the moment they come in these doors, they come in, they start congregating, and they just start getting off on each other. They start enjoying being in each other's presence. And there's something about that excitement that builds to a real sort of wave of excitement that the actors then come in and join in with. So thrilling on both sides.
Audience members look at each other, their laughter becomes infectious and contagious inside the Globe. There are moments of stillness, so the Globe audience is completely unified at times. At other times they feel slightly distracted.
Stop! I think to wet it!
It is probably the most unique playgoing experience of a lifetime. The reconstructed Globe has taught us a great deal about Shakespeare in performance by reconstructing the architectural conditions in which his plays were originally written. We've learned so much about the way in which the vertical structure of the playhouse impacts upon performance. The actor has to look up, the actor's face has to work extra hard, the actor's body feels almost, we've been told by actors here, as though they've been playing in a football match.
One of the unique things about seeing the play at the Globe is that Shakespeare makes sense in here. There's something about the way people congregate in here that makes everybody more intelligent. They all raise each other's game. They all search every line, every half line for something funny, something beautiful, something sad, something lyrical, whatever. And they do it as a collective act. And that sheer mental energy coming off 1,500 people makes the plays much more clear.
I think it shed light, most of all, on the importance of the audience and how much, if you like, the audience is a character in the plays, a constantly shifting, changing character that changes from day to day, from evening to matinee, so the play is never the same twice. It's in a crowd that stands up. That has a very different energy than an audience that's sitting, rooted to their seats. So this atmosphere of a crowd, of like a crowd at a game, is what the Globe has done for Shakespeare, I think.
At least lend it, you shall laugh you first.
We're constantly building out into the yard. There's something about having people just there, and when you build out into the yard, as they have here, having people right by you that gives you a sort of intimacy and a sort of directness in dealing with people that's unique to this space. You can be simultaneously epic. You can sit back on the stage here and do a great scene and provide a big landscape, or you can walk forward and get very close to someone and just speak very privately to them. And that's true of Shakespeare as well. Shakespeare has this wonderful way of going widescreen and then going into very tight close-up in his plays. And this theatre is uniquely capable of matching that.
The Globe opened in 1997. In 2000, we opened the largest exhibition devoted to Shakespeare in London. In 2010, we opened a new education centre. And then we want to build an indoor Jacobean theatre, a 17th century indoor playhouse. We know that Shakespeare's company performed in the great outdoor Globe during the summer, but then after 1608, it moved into an indoor Blackfriars theatre, an indoor playhouse. So we want to rebuild that type of indoor theatre. So that's our next plan.
Though it took Sam Wanamaker, our founder, 40 years to build the Globe, the story is not yet finished. We have an indoor theatre, an indoor Jacobean theatre opening in the end of 2013. And we also have a library and archive opening in 2016, which certainly shows that the Globe story is not yet complete.
The Globe is ever expanding. It's always getting more ambitious. There's something about the nature of the organisation here that's very ambitious. We're looking to build our indoor theatre, which is a key part of what we do. We're filming all of our productions now, which go out in cinemas, they play on television, they go out as DVDs. Our education work goes everywhere. We greet visitors from all over the world into our exhibition. I mean, it's a glorious place. There's something very special and unique that happens here, and we just want as many people as possible to share it and to know about it. We were putting together a season called Kings and Rogues. A lot of that was geared up to celebrate the most famous rogue of them all, Falstaff, who appears in the two Henry IV plays, but also appears very prominently in Merry Wives of Windsor. So he was right at the heart of the whole season.
The critics say, oh no, this isn't proper Shakespeare, but it's Shakespeare in a very domestic situation.
I spy entertainment in her. She discourses. She gives the...
It's the only Shakespeare play that's set wholly in England, in fact in one town. Every other Shakespeare play will be a little bit of England, a bit of France, or in Italy, or wherever. So this is very, very contained. And because of that, I think it's just been sort of set aside.
Or at Windsor. How shall I be revenged?
Merry Wives of Windsor is the play of Shakespeare's which has more prose, i.e. less verse. And the simplest way to think about prose is it's the language of comedy.
Then did the sun on Dunghill shine.
I thank thee for that.
Oh, she did so coarse all my exterior.
He never has written a play like this before, and never writes a play like this again. It's one long joke, really, from beginning to end. And it's for this reason that probably there's this story, myth grown up, that it was Queen Elizabeth I who asked for Shakespeare to write a play about Falstaff in love.
Come, thou canst not hide it.
Merry Wives is a very original achievement. It's probably one of his funniest plays. It's one of his most unique plays in its sitcom structure and its observance of a new middle class.
I think part of the challenge is as well that with every farce, the humour is in who knows what and who doesn't. Because what the audience loves seeing is somebody who's in a situation where they don't know, what's going to happen to them. But in this play, it gets quite confusing between the men of who knows what's going on. Making that clear is the epitome of making the play work.
She shall not see me here. I will ensconce me behind the arrows.
Pray you do so. She's a very tattling woman.
It's just incredible how he has the nous to understand every single sentiment and feeling, whether you're female or male.
You can just feel of it. It's a standalone play, written about the same time as he was writing the Henry IV plays, which have Falstaff in, of course, but there's nothing else like this.
It's 98% prose, so the text people can understand. It's not constant verse, but the challenge is to make sure you get the story across. And as long as you can get the story across, then people will enjoy it and people will understand the play.
Now, what's the matter?
If you try and imagine that this play came from the same writer who wrote King Lear or Coriolanus, it's almost beyond your imagination.
Christopher Luscombe, the director, did some fantastic cutting of this play, so he made it work for today's audience.
He trimmed it and tailored it and kept the pace up.
Anything that he didn't think worked anymore, we kind of discussed whether it should be in or not. There was a huge long scene, all in Latin, I think, that's disappeared quite quickly. It's just very accessible, and I think that's why it works.
One of the great surprises when we presented it was how it catered for all audiences. It wasn't just for a particular audience, it was for everyone. I remember vividly when we toured it to America, we took it to Los Angeles, and on the first afternoon there we had a dress rehearsal, and we had a collection of what are called Title I schools in, which were basically young school kids from Compton who came in, and we worried about their response and whether they'd like it or not, and they went wild for it. They understood the language very immediately.
And now she's going to my wife and Falstaff's boy with her.
And then that same evening, I remember a very much more well-heeled audience coming in for the first night, including Tom Hanks, who came to see it. And he adored it, and he said a wonderful thing which proved the sitcom lineage, which is something that we were trying to establish, was that it reminded him very much of I Love Lucy. It was just like I Love Lucy. And to get those two responses in the same day from two very different audiences, I think proved the appeal of this particular play.
What's the matter, good Mistress Page? Oh, well a day, Mistress Ford, having an honest man.
We were given license to be quite radical with our comedy, which doesn't often happen for women.
Out upon you!
We were allowed to be as silly as we liked, a bit like sort of something from Fawlty Towers, just sort of let rip a bit, which is right for those two women. It's right for those characters. And it fits with those particular scenes.
By your consent!
There's something about the way in which we do things, there's something about the freshness of our approach, the spontaneity of our approach, the direct relationship with the audience, which really opened the play up and which made the comedy, which can be rather opaque and rather difficult, and the prose can be rather hard to get over in other theatres. But there's something about the way in which we talk directly to the audience and we do it all in a shared light together that made that prose seem very contemporary and seem very fresh, and that made it dance rather delightfully rather than seeming rather lumpen, which it can.
In Merry Wives, we wanted the music to be as much a fun element of the production as the text itself. And so we had a lot of colours, a lot of different ideas behind the music. And the fact that we were able to add songs, 3 songs that aren't in the original text, really lifted the whole thing. We know that Shakespeare loved music. He was crazy about music. You can tell by reading the plays he loved music, he loved musicians. And so it's very important for music to be an integral part of what the Globe does.
My merry, merry round.
And I think one of the ways the music works really well is to highlight the comedy of the piece. Not that it needs that much help, because unlike some Shakespeare, the text of Merry Wives still stands up very well today, and you still get the jokes, and it's still very funny. But the music under a lot of the dialogue really lifts it and really helps to underline the jokes, and I think the audience really respond to it.
Pepper box! But lest the devil that guides him should aid him, I will search impossible places!
I can honestly say that every scene in Merry Wives for the ladies, the way it's written, the conversations they have, it seemed easy.
Let me see it, let me see it! Eileen, Eileen!
There's a buck basket scene where Falstaff has to get into a basket and nobody knows he's there. Me and Mistress Ford, who are like 2 friends who've known each other all their lives, you know, best friends who are just having a giggle, and we've lured him in and we've got this plan and he's in the basket and no one knows. And just hearing an audience laugh at the stupid things we did in that scene, you know, the stupidity of it, which is what audiences love, kind of obvious, stupid, silly things.
It's definitely been a highlight of my career.
Gentlemen!
Hi.
I honestly couldn't have been happier than when I was, it wasn't when I was speaking. There was moments in that scene where I just stood and the audience were just laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. And I thought, this is what it's all about. I'm just completely happy to be here doing this scene.
Now, whence come you?
From the 2 parties, forsooth.
The devil take one party and he's damn the other. I've suffered more for their sakes than men's disposition is able.
We fed off each other and we all enjoyed it together. It was a terrific combined performance. Everybody loved doing it. We were a very united family.
I was beating myself into all the colours of the rainbow.
Sir, let me speak with you in your chamber. You shall hear how things go, and I warrant to your content.
I think that this production, more than any other I've seen, shows it to its best advantage within the context of the Globe.
Mistress Page has come with me, sweetheart.
Divide me in 2 like a bribed buck. Each a horn. I bequeath my horns to your husbands. Am I a woodman, eh? Speak I like Herne the Hunter? As I am a true
When you've got 1,600 people surrounding you, all clapping, all singing along, all having a ball, how can you not be on a high? I felt like a rock star at the end of that.
It's so cleverly designed, the theatre. It's a drum, essentially. And so if you stand in the right place and you hit the snare, it just reverberates around the whole place. There's nothing like it.
It's easy, I think, to be flattered by the Globe audience because they give you such a terrific backup. And at the end, there's no experience like it. It's a wonderful, it's a unique experience. It really is.